It's the Mega Man, and nah, that doesn't stand for hate. We're just saying it's time for education to be great.
Hello everyone, this is Make Education Great Again. I'm your host Chris Morris, and we have a breaking story to bring to you guys today. Today's title, King Zuck, Why Facebook and Google are no longer companies. They are countries. And guys, I have an interview, an undercover breaking story that comes from Project Veritas. They had a whistleblower who was unwittingly was a whistleblower because he didn't know he was being recorded, and it is unbelievable stuff. He works for Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. His title is the Global Planning, let me get this right, Global Planning Lead at Facebook, and we caught him, Project Veritas caught him, and it is unreal stuff, talking about the fact that Facebook is no longer, should be considered a company. It is so large. It's its own country, as big as America or China. It has too much power, and he's calling for the need that it needs to be broken up. And what's amazing about this is he works for Facebook. He really is in charge of, a lot of their success, and yet he understands while there's some good things about these tech companies, that it's not good for the world, and he's willing to take a pay cut in order to see that the government step in and break up the company. Because I've said it before in this broadcast, people, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that's why monopolies are no good for society, especially when you're allowed to get this large. I mean, you had Facebook, had competition come up. I remember Instagram came out, and what did they do? They have so much power. They have unlimited funds. They bought Instagram. You see with Google, YouTube became a thing, started growing. What did Google do? They bought YouTube, which is why you see them have so much power over everybody. I always felt like it was something that was a little bit problematic when I would see, I'd even go to business counseling meetings, and I would talk to my advisor, and he told me the first thing I needed to do was spend $100 a month on Facebook, period. That was the first thing he said to do. And I'm like, why? That's how much power they have. Everybody's eyes are on Facebook. Therefore, that's just, they're being taught this as a business practice. So in order to do business, you have to do business with these tech giants. That is problematic, and they can decide about who's going to get elected and have at least a lot of influence on that. And so we're going to break into this story. I want to show you guys the first 3.5-minute clip from this breaking video that they released just a few days ago. It is unbelievable stuff, and I'll come back in and break it down after that. I have another clip to show as well. Check it out.
I work for a company that is doing a lot of damage in the world. It's doing a lot of good, but it's doing a lot of damage. I mean, no king in the history of the world has been the ruler of 2 billion people. But Mark Zuckerberg is. Facebook and Google are no longer companies, they're countries. They must be stopped. The government needs to step in and break up Google and Facebook. It's a better thing for the world. The single biggest thing is this company needs to be broken up. No king in the history of the world has been the ruler of 2 billion people. But Mark Zuckerberg is.
I'm a journalist. I just want to let you know that I intend to release our conversations to the American people. Are you interested in interviewing on the record with us to clarify your statements to the American people?
Today, Project Veritas undercover journalists have exposed another high-level executive at Facebook who was caught on a hidden camera saying, quote, the government needs to step up and break up Google and Facebook, unquote. Benny Thomas, Facebook's global planning lead, goes on to say in this hidden camera recording he'd, quote, make less money, but it's better for the world. Take a listen to this Facebook unwitting whistleblower.
The problem is then the government has to step in, which is what needs to happen now as well. The government needs to step in and break up Google and Facebook. I'll make less money, but it's a better thing for the world.
Why do you think so?
Facebook and Google are too powerful, and they need to be made less powerful.
If this sounds familiar, it's because it is. A few weeks ago, one of our insiders leaked us tape from within Facebook's meetings of Nick Clegg, Facebook's head of global affairs, and he also admitted the company has too much power.
But there has been quite a lot of disquiet expressed by many leaders around the world, from the president of Mexico to Alexander Navalny in Russia, the Chancellor Angela Merkel, and others saying, well, this shows that private companies have got too much power and they should be only making these decisions in a way that is framed by democratically agreed rules. We agree with that. We agree with that.
It's clear Thomas believes the government needs to step in and break up Facebook, maybe because he's cognizant that, quote, nothing is going to happen for a long time in regards to current state lawsuits who have already been trying to break up Facebook.
It's like right now Facebook is being sued by, right, like by 49 states for this breakup, anti-competitive. But, so you might say, oh, Facebook is being sued. You know what? That case is going to drag on for years and years. It's just going to go on in courts because Facebook has all the money in the world, so does the US government. They'll just keep fighting, Nothing's going to happen for a long time until, I don't know. It's going to take a while, but I think people need to be just sensitized. Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, Oculus, WhatsApp, they all need to be separate companies. It's too much power when they're all one together. It needs to be broken up the way the telecom companies were broken up and the oil companies were broken up. But better than that, because those guys just came back together pretty soon after that, and I hope we've learned from that. But that's really the one thing, as you said. I would break it up, and I would remove Zuck as the CEO.
So there you have it. What do you think about it? I mean, he's saying, look, we need to go ahead and break it up. In fact, he goes as far as to say we need to go ahead and remove Zuck as the CEO. He knows this. I mean, how old is Mark Zuckerberg? He's basically my age. I'm about to be 36. He's 36 years old. He has his life is still ahead of him, and he has this much power to the point where, you got 49 states, I think they said it was, who are already trying to sue and trying to bring about the breakup of these companies, because it's just for for humankind, it's in our best interest not to have any one company have so much power that it undermines, I should say it that way, undermines our own government. And so, but he brings up a good point. They have unlimited money. They're almost like the U.S. I mean, I don't know what they're worth today. The last thing I looked up, Facebook was well on its way. It was approaching like $600 billion in value, approaching $1 trillion. I'm pretty sure Google's already over $1 trillion, and Amazon is over $1 trillion. And a lot of this money, their evaluations has come since COVID-19 came out, and everybody got their small businesses shut down, and these tech companies took more and more control. I mean, how much is Zoom worth these days, I wonder? It wasn't worth that much pre-COVID-19. You see what's going on here, folks. You see what it is. This is dire. And if you go back, I highly suggest, I'll leave a link to the Project Veritas video in the description. You need to watch the whole thing because it talks about some other nefarious stuff that he was even scared to get into, or at least didn't feel like he had the time to get into in this interview, talking about this Project CRISPR. Has anyone in here? You can leave a link or leave your thoughts in the comments about CRISPR. Basically, it's getting into the point where he talks about artificial intelligence being so powerful to where, people are no longer necessary. How essentially, you think about the fact that human beings, when we go out, to have a picnic at the park, we're never really thinking or concerned about the ants that we might be stepping on or crushing while we're sitting there laying out our blanket and enjoying our lunch, because it's of no consequence to us. And he says artificial intelligence is going to get to the point, and is already getting to the point where we're expendable, and they're not really going to consider people as of any consequence to themselves. It's not that they're out to get you, but if they step on you, they don't really care. This is kind of scary stuff. CRISPR technology, that being said, is more about, fusing, maybe a chip in your brain where you can do quick calculations a whole lot faster than you normally would. And so you're really going to have an even bigger divide between the high class people who have everything and those who have not. So it's just compelling stuff. I want to go ahead and bring your attention to this other clip from the article. It's about from the video. It's about 5 minutes and 45 seconds, 5 minutes and 10 seconds, something like that into the video. You guys can check it out, where he's basically talking about need for safeguards and more controls, and he thinks he wants the government to put that in place. And so it's a lot of what I like the analogy he uses, where he's basically saying, hey man, think about traffic rules. People put in some safeguards. You have red lights, you have traffic lights, you have lines, white lines, you have police people, who are in place. And, even in this research behind when people know that there are eyes on them and how they tend to behave better. There's no eyes on the management of Facebook and these Google companies. They can do what they want, and they're not going to behave good. It's a very good way to put it, and I like how he breaks it down. So check out this little clip, and then I'll come on in to wrap it on up.
The problem is people are not differentiating. People are believing whatever they see, and it's just causing a crisis.
So what's the answer?
Well, we're working on it. But the answer is just more controls, more safeguards. The answer is the same answer of why do cars not crash on the street? Because there's traffic lights.
Right.
So they know when to stop. You need traffic lights and cops and white lines dividing the road.
To give people a moral compass?
Yeah, and to give people a guide to behavior.
That's called democracy. Somebody's always watching you so that you behave well. Like, so if you have the traffic lights, they've conducted experiments. The honesty jar experiment, where like they'll put cookies out there and there's nobody there, but like there'll be cookies in a jar and they'll say, put whatever you think is right. We think you should pay $1 for this cookie. And they did an experiment where they just did that in a room and watched how much. Yes, please. Watch how much money people put in there, and then they did the simple thing. They put a picture of a pair of eyes on the wall in that room, and you know what happens? People start putting more money into the jar. So when you feel that somebody's watching them, you just behave better.
All right, so what do you guys think? You just saw, 2 clips from the the breaking story yourself. I mean, I've been thinking this for a long time, but I didn't even realize how much power and you can tell the way he was talking, the fear he had and the trepidation he had and the concern he had, and he was like he was at conflict with himself. And he's talking about this CRISPR technology and understanding where it's going. It's getting to the point where it's basically not serving the interest of humanity for them to gain this much control. And some of the things that he's into, it's absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's why I always tell people you've got to check power. When it comes to education, we have monopolies in place as it is right now. You have not only the teachers unions, but you have basically a whole system where you have a zoning area and everybody in that particular area has to go to one school in order to get the product that they need, that being education. Well, that's problematic because when a monopoly exists, like you see with these big tech companies, when they have absolute power and they're not checked and they can do what they want and no one can really go to any other option, which is what's happening with tech companies, WhatsApp, Instagram, they're all owned by the same people. So it's not really giving us a free market. It's not really giving checks and balances. So in education, it's the same thing. That's why I'm a big proponent of school choice. That's why I think we need to have ESAs, which stands for educational savings accounts, because it gives the power of the purse not to the bureaucrat that doesn't really love the kid. It gives the power of the purse to parents, and therefore those parents can decide how to spend those monies in the best interest of their child. It's only just common sense, and it's the loving thing to do. We have to do that in education, of course, but we got to do that in society at large. We have to have systems in place that don't let companies or corporations become so big that they can essentially buy out governments and they almost function as their own countries, as their own entities. So anyway, that's all I got to say for this video. As always, like, subscribe, share, click the notification bell for more content and analysis. If you feel so led, I have a link to my PayPal, my Cash App in the description. If you want to get some more of that mega merch, we have t-shirts, hoodies, baby onesies, we got, mugs, we got, water bottles, we got it all. I love the support there, and you guys can have something that, hopefully will be something that will galvanize us together, and I appreciate your support. I hope you guys have a blessed day, a blessed week. Let me know what you think about today's video in the comments. I'll catch you next time. Peace.
It's the Mega Man, and nah, that doesn't stand for hate. We're just saying it's time for education to be great. And if we keep on doing everything that we've been doing, it will no longer be our freedom that we're pursuing. It's now time to teach our students how to think and reason. If we don't, we'll keep on electing those guilty of treason. So listen up as Mega Man is about to spit the truth. Gotta stop the powers that are coming after the youth.